Hello and good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Happy Friday. We've made it, ladies and gentlemen. The weekend is a few hours away for a lot of people. Mrs. Boom starts her weekend at 4 p.m. when I pick her up from work. Well, I'm retired, so it's kind of like Friday for me all the time. And don't throw the virtual tomatoes, folks. It took a long time to get here, and there was a lot of trials and tribulations, but I think I've earned the retirement. When I say that, I get the look from Mrs. Boom. She gives me the Hispanic look as if she's going to throw her chancleta at me, and thankfully she has not. So I don't say, hey, it's Friday for me every day. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in. This is going to be one of those shows that might be a little bit all over the place. There are no real definitive major sink your teeth into topics like we've been, privy to in the last couple of the whole 2025 campaign has been one news story after another. We are going to talk about the Nintendo Direct. This is a multi-plat show. We got some Xbox news, so we're going to throw some Xbox news in there. That comes away of Crispy Bomb, who, with his keen eyes, spotted something that might be Boom's freaking dream come true. We got a few other stories in here. I don't know what happened to Fuzzy Belvedere. Did he send me a message? Not as of yet. So we'll figure. Maybe he's having an issue with his pewter. But right now, Crispy Bomb, good morning, kind sir. Thanks so much for joining us. How the heck are you? And you got some smoke for Nintendo. We're going to get into that to open up the show. How you feeling?
I'm feeling good. Yeah, there's one pointed thing that I'm like, my God, and I had this item, and I'm gonna leave it a little secret for a minute. But yeah, it was definitely not something everyone had, and of course I got it, and it was the worst purchase, or should I say, as a child, ask I've ever done in my my entire life. Like to get this as a present was the stupidest thing. So we'll leave it at that. But, great to be here, and let's talk some games. I really could use that right about now, and we'll leave it at that.
Yeah, it's been a bit of a tough week for both of us, brother. Well, folks, we have you here. We have almost 100 people already here, and that's a really big deal for us here at Double Barrel Gaming, because we don't take the views, the likes, the subs, or even the comments, even if they're negative, lightly. We do appreciate everybody that's here in the chat. We do appreciate every view, every sub, every like, every share that we get, because nothing's guaranteed on YouTube. And YouTube, man, I got to tell you, so many creators that I have talked to, and no names, because we don't want to get throw anybody under the bus, or we don't want to shout out anybody that doesn't want to be put on Front Street, as the kids like to say. But YouTube has really done a number on a lot of channels. Like, for instance, again, I don't complain about, we just go, right? We do the 5 days a week live streams. We do 5 to 8 videos. I have 4 that are queued, ready to go, 2 of which are kind of held up. I don't know if anyone, I haven't seen any messages. For some reason, the primetime gaming episode is locked up and it says still processing. It's been processing for 2 days, so it's probably going to have to get deleted, which is a shame, because we had a really fun show. I hope that there will be some sort of a fix from, because it's not anything we did. It's not being held up because it's explicit or anything. It got gummed up. So yeah, it's very unfortunate, but I'm going to see if I can reach out to YouTube. It's unlikely they're going to get back to me. We're too small of a channel. But hopefully there is some sort of a self-fix I can do. But look, you know what? While we await Fuzzy Belvedere, Crispy, we got to get into Nintendo. Nintendo is, in the mind's eye of many people in the community, and for a couple of reasons. One, the Direct just happened. And folks, I literally said this to Crispy before we went live. Nothing makes me more sad as a content creator than having to be negative. I don't like it. I don't appreciate it. It's not something we strive for. But my God, this Nintendo Direct was terrible. And I say that with, hey, walk with me on this, folks. Super Mario Galaxy 1 and 2, day one. They look amazing. I don't know if they did anything to them, but wow. Yes, please. I bought the Super Mario Sunshine and the Galaxy 1-2 pack when I launched last year, and they got real, slick with it. Oh, you can only buy this physical edition for this long, and then it's only going to be digital for this long. I didn't like that. That was pretty lame. I don't know if they learned their lessons from it, but needless to say, we are getting Mario Galaxy 1 and 2. Okay, that's awesome. They're old games. They're being brought forward. I actually think that this is atypical Nintendo, and I think it's brilliant. I really do. I know that there's going to be some people that push back, but do me a favor, raise your hand in the chat, ladies and gentlemen, if you still have your GameCube hooked up. I mean, honestly, and Curry Carmos, I mean, he might be surprised. I liked it, though. My expectations for the directs are pretty diminished, while I have no expectations for the state of play. It's a fair thing. Look, here's the thing. Is it the worst Nintendo Direct I've ever had? No, but again, you got to walk with me on this, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm going to get to the point of why I think as a fan, it's terrible. Look, here's the thing. We know that today is Mario's 40th anniversary, right? It's a really big deal. We got Mario Galaxy, the Super Mario Galaxy movie announcement. All right, that's cool, right? My nephew's probably is going to run crazy tonight, watch the trailer 15 times, 20 times. Awesome. We got the announcement that Galaxy not only is getting 2 amiibos, which you know how I feel about the amiibo, so those things are got by me. But we're getting Mario Galaxy 1 and 2, and I think for video game preservation, it's important. No, they don't do it like Xbox, where everything you own you play. Because I actually own Mario Galaxy 1 and 2 on the. I said the GameCube. It was actually the Wii. Sorry, so I got it wrong, but that's because I'm in my mind. Yeah, I mean, do I have my Wii or Wii U hooked up? I don't. Do I own a Wii U? Yeah, it's in storage. Do I have a lot of these games for the Wii? I do. Some of the real big classic ones, they're probably worth a lot of money for the physical games. I'm never getting rid of them. I'll probably donate them to, like, if it ever got to the end of time, I'll donate them to some sort of a museum. But so no one, and I would say if one person in this chat says that they have their Wii or Wii U hooked up, I'm going to give you a public shout out, because probably no one does. So King Webb says I have jailbroken the Wii. No, he's lying with Nintendo, because the Nintendo snipers are always waiting. Hey, Fuzzy Belvedere, what's going on, brother? How you feeling?
Feeling great. Sorry for being late, trying to get all this camera stuff working properly, so do apologize.
No sweat. Now you sound like you got a bit of an echo. Is that because of the new setup?
Yeah, and I'm trying to make sure that it doesn't do any of the volume here, but for whatever reason it's picking up the secondary mic, but it should.
Well, you know what? But listen, no, it's no sweat. You're clear. At least you're not being clipped, or you're not botting or anything. So it's just a little bit of an echo. But yeah, you'll get it all sorted out. Don't worry about it. But folks, just getting back to the Nintendo Direct, why I think it is awful is because we got some new old Mario games, and like I was saying, for video game preservation on a console that no one has hooked up, that practically nobody owns anymore, because no one ever talks about the Wii. Usually it's the Wii U and how terrible it did. And these games were backwards compatible on the Wii U, and they did launch on the Wii. And Mario Galaxy, they're amazing games. They really are. So the fact that we're going to be able to play them on our Switch too is great. Right? That's awesome. I'm buying it. If there's a physical edition, I'm going to buy it. And I like physical stuff. I'm still, like partially a physical guy, especially when it comes to Nintendo. We got a release date and some amiibos for Metro Prime 4, which, yes, I'm very excited for that. Samus is going to be riding a bike. Yeah, that's what that wasn't on my bingo cards for sure. The return of the Virtual Boy. I know that Crispy Bomb is going to have something to say about that, but it's not the actual unit, but it is a replica where you kind of slide the the Switch 2 in there. Look, I'm not going to front, folks. Again, not on the bingo card. Am I buying it? Of course I'm going to freaking buy it. You know why? Because I have every classic controller, 2 of them of each one that didn't come with a pair. I have the GameCube one right here. I have, and they're still in the boxes. Now, I use them, but I put them back in the box because I'm kind of a neat freak like that. So I have all of the controllers. I got the NES. I got the Super NES. I have the GameCube. I have all of them. So of course I'll get the Virtual Boy. Am I going to use it? Probably not. Am I going to display it in my case? Of course I am. So that was pretty cool. But see, where I kind of have some smoke is the whole 40th anniversary of Mario thing. Now, as great as it is to see some of their older Switch titles getting some additional content, it was nice to see a new Mario Tennis, which is actually more than just a regular sports game. It's going to have a world mode to it, which is it's a whole story with that. Donkey Kong, Bonanza got DLC that's dropping today. That's freaking cool. The fact that we don't have, or they did not show, a new 3D Mario to celebrate the 40th freaking anniversary of Mario is bonkers to me. Like, look, folks, I'll say this. I'm not afraid to get emotional in life. I'm not afraid to get emotional and even shed some tears live on camera. I've done it before. You know what? I know that when I look in the mirror, I'm a man. So I don't worry about getting emotional or showing my emotions. The emotions that would have poured out of me, probably like right now, live on the air, would have been if they would have remade one of my favorite games of all time when it comes to Nintendo, and that's Mario 64. It is the GOAT of 3D platformers. It is really kind of what set the 3D world forward. And they did it on a console that I can't believe it actually worked, as big as that world was. So I was thinking in my mind that, well, wait a second. If they're going to be celebrating the 40th anniversary of Mario, maybe, just maybe, they'll remake the N64 version, and it would be in modern graphics, controls, and everything. And I would consider that a new game. It's not a remaster. It would have been, in my mind, a remake from the ground up, and I would have bawled my eyes out because it's one of my favorite games. Well, we didn't get that. And as a secondary prize, Crispy, I was thinking, well, Mario Galaxy 3 is a lock. The one with what the heck it was called? Oh my God, I'm having a brain fart live on the air, but he throws the hat. I thought a sequel to that would have been there. Or, of course, a new 3D Mario. I mean, it's the 40th freaking anniversary of Mario. What are we doing? Like, of course, Crispy Bomb likes to say, I don't know, man. I mean, listen, there were a lot of games. Obviously, they're going to be they have a console exclusivity for Hades 2. I'm buying that. There's a side-scrolling 80s type of game dropping today. I forgot the name of it. I don't have my notes in front of me, folks, because I'm doing a million things, but I'm buying that. I'm buying the DLC for Donkey Kong when it comes available. So they're gonna get some money from me today. And listen, folks, I make no apologies for being a Nintendo fan. I have been a Nintendo fan since 1985, since my parents surprised me with the NES, and I haven't looked back since. Have they pissed me off in the past? They've done some egregious things, but I'm still a Nintendo fan. Oh man, Crispy, again, it honestly, folks, I'm not even BSing you. It bothers me as a human to be negative. I love living in the world, and I know it doesn't exist for everyone, but for me, unicorns and rainbows all day long. That's how I like to live. I hate being negative, but I got to give smoke to Nintendo for this. This is this is a bit of a letdown. Don't get me wrong. Again, they had some surprises. They had some games that I'm buying. The one towards the end with Zelda, which is, yes, I'm going to be buying that. That's going to be like Dynasty Warriors, but with Zelda. They've done it before. I own every one of those games. I'm going to buy this. I can't wait. Oh my God, Crispy, let's try and make sense of this. This is for me a bit of a letdown, considering the power of an anniversary of this size. I think it's a letdown that you lead the conversation with a really cool graphic that shows the 40th anniversary of Mario and Luigi, and you don't remake that original game. You don't remake the 85 version. You don't remake Mario 64 from the ground up, and you don't bring us a new Mario on this kind of a day. I think it's lame, brother. I think it's lame. I think it's a super letdown, and this doesn't even go into the fact of the patent thing. Like, oh my God, that's a story on itself. Let's get your thoughts, man.
Well, I want to be clear at first. Nintendo lost me a long time ago. So boom. I mean, it sounds like you you want everything Nintendo. That is awesome. In the gamer perspective, I can see why they grabbed Hades 2 exclusivity. I look at this and first of all, the messaging. I mean, with switch to switch game, both. I don't know. I feel like you can figure that out a little better or just, maybe not act like every game should be resold. And I guess that's maybe because
fair point, brother.
We don't have, because I mean, even if they say, okay, it's only on the Switch, well, what's the problem with porting it to the Switch too? I mean, I believe the architecture is pretty darn similar.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's like, if it can run on that, shouldn't it be able to run on that? And it's like, oh, you're just going to try to grab at least $10 out of people. That's the way I look at it. Maybe it's because I'm on Xbox and
you're pulling a Sony, brother.
even though I have, Nintendo's been doing this just as long. Come on, Boom. You know what I mean? Like,
it's true. How many times did you buy Super Mario Brothers 3? Probably 7 times, like me. I should be ashamed of myself. Yeah,
my son has the Switch. Okay, like he has the Switch. I always catch him playing Smash Brothers. That's where that tweet. That was like, yeah, it's not gonna happen. He would have went crazy for another Smash.
Yes. Oh my God, yes.
Anybody would at this point, and because I mean that's the type of game I played the OG on the 64, and we used to sit there with 4 people, and that was the best part of the N64 was being able to play with 4 people, and just having a great time. And I feel like all of this nonsense with trying to do those things is really it's lost its luster for Nintendo. And being an exclusive platform, that's where I bring up Hades 2. Like, hey, that's a game that might actually sell your Switch too. You know what I mean? Because there's a lot of people that played the first one that are going to want to play the second one. So that was a smart move. You can't deny it. My biggest gripe is the Virtual Boy. Come on, man. You trying to burn people's retinas again, man? Like, I couldn't play the games. I had it. Like, that was like the cool, oh, what is this cool new thing? And then I get it, and I can't play it for more than 20 minutes.
And you feel like you're looking out of the eyes of Cyclops. Yes.
And being a child, not thinking about not having any type of good right eye, that became an even bigger problem.
Yeah.
Okay. And this thing wasn't cheap back then. I mean, I can't remember the price. It was like $150, $200, I believe. And back then that was a lot of money. They dropped the price obviously later, but I wanted it really bad. So, I understand it. It's basically, it should be a collector's eye. I mean, to have those games the way they, were in that red, I mean, you're not going to be able to, even on the Switch screen, I don't believe, it's going to sear in your eyes. It's going to be like staring at the sun, because that's what happened to me. So I just don't understand the logic in that. I mean, if anything, why not release just, a collector's item, if you wanted to, but hey, like, all right, I guess you could play it if you want to. I don't see why you would want to, but hey, I guess, some people may. I don't know. So, you look at that, really kind of surprised at not seeing like substantial third-party games, and I've been waiting. I've been waiting for that Xbox game to come, and it's like, yeah, there's games and they're third party, but you're not highlighting some that we've been kind of thinking would come to the Switch too. Any like recent Call of Duty, you know what I mean? Having.
That's a great point, brother. I'm glad you brought that up because I would have probably lost money on a bet if someone would have been like, because again, they announced this, Crispy, as the longest direct in years. So you're thinking, well, holy shit, this is going to be massive, right? So of course I'm let down because of the Mario thing, but when you kind of just take a pause for a second, where's all the Xbox Nintendo announcements? Because there are none. There are literally none.
Yeah, and it's starting to make me think that either maybe there's something going on there that we don't know about. You know what I mean? Because they just started doing this a while ago. Outer Worlds. There's a few games like, and then all of a sudden it just stopped. And it's like, does Xbox not see that porting it is worth it? You know what I mean? Or not? Are not selling enough? Because I don't remember seeing any numbers about some of the games that were released. Also, like a lot of people have pointed out, like the Switch One, like most of those games ran pretty bad. Eventually they got patched a little bit, but still graphically, frame rates. So I would think that Xbox would have started trying to push to the Switch 2 as soon as possible, and to have nothing. So you feel like there's something going on. And if you look at it, and the way I look at it, I feel like Nintendo just kind of is happy where they're at, complacent. They're the gaming darling, even though they do like that patent thing. I'm like, what is that? Like, you're not just affecting Pocket Pair and Pal World, you're affecting multiple games, and I'm really surprised that it even was able to be done. Maybe that's going to change. I don't know, how, a patent lawyer.
There's got to be some sort of an appeal for that. And again, it's expensive because now you're talking about Nintendo and they have super deep pockets and they have super expensive lawyers. I honestly, Thriller Ali in the chat. And let me just give him a shout out, Crispy. He says, Mr. Boomstick, did you hear about the new Pokemon game mechanics patent against Power World that could affect the entire gaming industry? It's ridiculous, and I think it is ridiculous. And I don't know how that passes. It's pretty vague. You're not allowed to summon a animal character to fight for you. What? Like, that's been going on for freaking decades with hundreds of games, Digimon being one of them.
Yep.
I don't know how this is going to go, folks. I'll put it to this way, Crispy. This is a monster-sized dagger in the game industry's heart. Wow.
And that's the thing. Like, who's going to try to fight this? That's where I say, like, you'd have to have like a patent lawyer come talk about this, because and hopefully maybe there's one in the gaming community that can do a video or join a podcast and really even reach out. I'm sure Boom would love to.
You know what? I would. I don't know if Hogue.
I don't know either.
It would know. I mean, that dude is sharp as a pencil. When I tell you, he's one of the smartest guys in any room he walks in. So maybe you know what? Knowing him, he's probably already made a comment that I didn't see. I'm going to reach out to Hogue. I haven't talked to him in a minute, but I'm going to reach out to him. That's a good idea, brother, to get someone who might be a patent lawyer or understand the business of patent, because that to me is just crazy.
Yeah. So I think in the end, like, this wasn't good enough for the, like, we always say, bad news, and then, oh, news is news regardless. But Nintendo's been on a roll with kind of pissing people off about, with stuff like this. And then to come out with this direct, and it just seems like they're not trying anymore. Maybe they're spending too much more money on the lawyers, Boom. And I say, Nintendo, I mean, if you're trying to sell the Switch 2, you're not doing a very good job other than Hades 2. And I'll leave it at that.
No, I mean, they're all fair points. Again, shout out to the chat. Fuzzy, first of all, brother, welcome as always. Before I bring you in, I got to catch up on these super chats because they're out of control. So let me just do that before we bring you in. To start off the day, comes the way of Hooks. And this is a great one. I love when my suggestions hit for people. He drops a very generous $5 super chat. Hooks goes on to say, thanks to Boom, I installed Achilles Survivors last night and played until 2 a.m. Now I can't keep my eyes open at work. Yeah, you know what, dude? Achilles Survivor it's so what you want in that type of genre, but it adds the addition of building. I didn't think I was gonna like it. I'm like, oh my God, I don't know. I'm not an RTS guy. Folks, I gotta tell you, if you like Vampire Survivors, my suggestion is go play like Junt Slayer, Hordes of Hell, right? That is basically Vampire Survivors with graphics of Diablo 4. That's really what it is. It's phenomenal. It's $20 or $25 for the deluxe edition. Greedland is another one. It's a roguelite like Vampire Survivors, but in a more modern setting where you're fighting. It actually reminds me of Helldivers 1 with power-ups of a shooter. That's really what it is. It's another $20 game, phenomenal. And of course, Achilles Survivor is another one. Again, it's basically like Diablo meets Vampire Survivors, but also has an RTS building aspect to it. And the building is simple. You simply just collect shards, and then you land on one of the flags, and you pick what weapon you want, whether it be a flamethrower, a buzzsaw. I love those type of games. And again, my life is so chaotic, and it's been so chaotic the last couple of months, which, we keep under wraps. We're just here to talk about video games, but we've been going through it a bit, and I don't have a lot of time for long games. So when I do have 20 minutes, 30 minutes, even an hour, I play these games, and they've been lifesavers for me personally. But William Lewis in the chat. William, thank you so much for being here, brother. Thank you for the generosity, as always, ladies and gentlemen. He drops a very generous $2 super chat. Here we go. He says, I have my Wii U up, and I am playing Black Ops 1 and 2 on it. Brother, shout out to this man. He proved me wrong. I said no one would. Well, William Lewis does have his Wii U up and running, and I didn't even know Black Ops 1 and 2 were on the Wii U. Oh, my God, brother. Good for you. So thank you so much for the generosity, brother, and thank you for sharing that. Tim the Sorcerer, who's been a channel member, folks, for a whopping 38 months. Dude, that is insane generosity. We super appreciate it. He says, agree with Boom. No new games for 40-year anniversary, and not even a special remake Super Mario 64 or Ocarina of Time. Yes, that's what I'm talking about. Shame on Nintendo. I mean, look, the Ocarina of Time, if they remade that, it's going to make grown men cry in the streets and rock themselves to sleep. Right? I mean, that's like as great as you could possibly want if they remade it. Mario 64 is the same thing. I mean, like these IPs are ancient, and yes, some of them are playable via their service, and I think that is incredible. But come on. I mean, for the 40th anniversary, that's what you guys do? I don't know, man. It's a little weak sauce for me, but thank you for the support. We also have William Lewis dropping an additional, very generous $2 super chat. He says, happy National Video Game to all. Play bunches. Again, I didn't even know that. Well, it's National Video Game Day, and this is what Nintendo does. Shame on Nintendo. Boo, Nintendo. We also have Roshan Impenger, who's been a channel member for over a year. So, Roshan, thank you so much for that, brother. That is very generous of you. He says Microsoft needs to patent mechanics for Minecraft and then sue Nintendo for that new Pokemon Minecraft game. I thought about that too. I'm like, so you don't let people do that, but you're doing it? I don't know. We'll see if they get sued. Nino Vistic, our generous friend all the way from Hawaii, has done it again, ladies and gentlemen. He has gifted one Double Barrel Gaming membership. Thank you so much, Nino. Appreciate that. Aloha to you and the fam. Hopefully you have a wonderful weekend, but thank you for the generosity as you always do. Roshan Impenger drops a very generous $5 super chat. Roshan goes on to say that new Nintendo patent also affected Diablo, Necromancers, and Druids. This will hit Microsoft and Borderlands. Yeah, I don't know how that works, brother. We're gonna try. I'm gonna take Crispy's advice, and we got to get somebody that knows about patents on whether or not any of these new. Because again, the one thing I know for an absolute fact is that it's not retroactive. So they can't go after companies that have already done it. They can only get, I would imagine, monies from new companies doing it, it's just wild. Brett Bingham in the chat, good friend of the channel. Talk to Brett pretty much every day. Brett goes on to say, after dropping a very generous $5 super chat, someone should come out with a patent to copyright other legacy mechanics in Pokemon games. Hit them in the, I guess, I'm going to assume that those are hit them in the balls and see how they like it. Indeed, sir. And I believe that's what it is. We also have, another super chat from William Lewis, an additional third $2 super chat. So William, that's brother. Thank you so much for the generosity. He says, it's Broke Boy Boom. Oh, well, there you go. Alternate account. See, I didn't even know that because I just, well, it's the Broke Boy Lewis, ladies and gentlemen. Here he is. Thank you so much for the generosity, as you always do, Will. For the video, let's get into this Nintendo Direct. Again, I don't want to sound like a broken record, but gee whiz, man. As an old man who loves old games and appreciates where we all came from, how do you not celebrate the 40th anniversary? Like I said, I appreciate Galaxy 1 and 2. Those are goated games. That's it. There's not even an argument about it. But, they open up with, if I watched it, they open up with the sketches, which I thought was pretty cool, to be honest with you, that are in a museum that you can see the original sketches for the 85 Super Mario Brothers. And I'm like, I thought in my head, wait, if they're showing this, they're going to show that they remade the original. Holy shit, I'm going to go crazy. They didn't even show that.
Yeah.
Man, I don't know. Let's try and make some sense of this craziness.
All right. Now, I have to be upfront. I didn't watch it all the way through. Kind of skimmed through it for the most part, but was looking for a new Mario. I considered, with the 40th anniversary, other than like the Jamboree thing that they showed, the multiplayer deal, I figured there had to be something, and was kind of disappointed in the fact that there wasn't. Like, the biggest problem I've had with my Switch 2, and I'm not the biggest Switch fan. I've been more of a Sega kid growing up. I got the Switch 2 figuring maybe at some point they would resell, some of the earlier Marios, the classics. Like I have the Super NES Mini for Super Mario World 3. And, I don't really care for that device because of the bars or whatever. They still have it where it's like the normal 3:3:4 or 4:3 ratio or whatever. I think you can put like certain skins for like the fill in the widescreen as opposed to the black bars. But I was hoping at some point they would resell those games on the Switch 2, considering I don't necessarily like the fact that you have to have a subscription to play those on the Switch 2. Like I'd rather own the game and know that I could play it at any given time as opposed to being beholden to a subscription service to be able to access it. But it is what it is. And I just have to say, hopefully Xbox was watching this with their 25th anniversary next year on things not to do. And I'm pretty sure that they'll knock it out of the park for their 25th and even the 20th anniversary for like Gears of War, and how they display or hype us up for the, whatever more recent release will be coming out for next year and stuff. But overall, was expecting that, was hoping for a modern day, Sky or Star Fox or like a F-Zero, modern. I know F-Zero has the F-Zero 99 or whatever. That's like the big multiplayer, but I was hoping they would do like a updated visuals kind of thing. And I was also expecting a lot more third party, but then again, we had that report like a couple of weeks ago where Nintendo had pushed back to some devs as far as giving them access to the Switch 2 dev kits, saying, hey, just make the game for the Switch 1 and it'll automatically work for the Switch 2. And it's like, that was part of the problem with the Switch 1, why they didn't have as much third-party support. So it seems like Nintendo isn't as interested in the third-party support. I get it. They're trying to resell a lot of their titles again for the $10 bump in price. But it just feels like a weird way to kick off, this new generation of hardware. Like the new generation of hardware where you're reselling some of the remakes or whatever, or remasters or upgrades for like a $10 upgrade type of deal. Get those out of the way within like the first couple of months. Don't drag that out, for the next couple of years. Kick those off. Come out with the new titles that you would expect that are going to be Switch 2 only. Like at this point, I understand there's hundreds of 15 million Switch 1s out there. I know some may have traded them in for Switch 2s, but there's probably still at least a good 100 million plus Switch 1s out there, and they're going to continue to make games for it. But I think now would be the time you should start showing, at least, even if it's not immediately available, but within the next year or so, because they've been showing everything for like Metroid Prime for a while now. Get people hyped up on why they need to pick up that Switch 2. Like I agree with Crispy in the sense that Hades 2 is a nice pickup for them. I think they had a similar deal for Hades 1 even before it came to other consoles and such. But a first party title that is Switch 2 only would be a nice one. What do you call it? Donkey Kong Bonanza was a nice one not too long ago, or like a month or two ago. It'd be time to show something for Mario in that regard. Would be a nice way to maybe bump up sales. Something beyond like Mario Kart World and whatnot. But I'll have to catch a lot more of the smaller stuff that I may have missed on a replay. But not having a modern day Mario feels kind of like a missed opportunity.
Yeah,
I'm sure they'll do something maybe next year or maybe closer to holidays, but this I think would have been a good time to kind of get people hyped up between now and the holidays, as far as if they haven't already picked up a Switch 2, why they need to go out there and grab one now before the craziness, before the holiday season. But yeah, that was probably the biggest thing I was looking for. Plus, like I said, a Star Fox or an F-Zero modern day, not necessarily focused on multiplayer as much as the F-Zero 99 kind of thing. So
you're hitting home runs left, right, and center. Shout out to Cullen Prime. He says he doesn't think the direct was bad. No, I don't think it was bad. I enjoyed it. I give it a 7. But I wanted to give it a 10, and it would have gotten a 10 because they would have done exactly what Fuzzy just said. This is one of those opportunities that don't come around all that often. These big anniversaries are, in my opinion, to be celebrated in a way where they're meaningful. I don't think what they showed was meaningful enough. Because again, the way that they presented themselves in the lead up to this direct was the fact that it's going to be an hour, so get ready. The minute I hear that, I'm like, oh man, expectation boom. And of course, I'm let down. Again, am I excited for some of the older games to get new modes? Sure. Am I going to buy the Mario Tennis? As long as it's $70, yes. If that joint's $80, I'm sorry, Charlie Brown, I'm not doing it. Because no. And I don't think anyone should pay $80 for a game. But some of the stuff that they do have coming, the Nintendo stuff, the first party stuff, looked pretty cool. The amiibos, I mean, I'm buying every one of them. So of course, I'm a big amiibo nerd. You've seen my collection; it's pretty ridiculous. I'm almost out of space. Like I'm gonna have to figure out, do I have to get actually new shelving to kind of fit all of them in there, because I'm running out of space. And the case has, I think, 8 shelves. I'm like, Jesus, what am I gonna do? But I am gonna. Man, I just think it's a missed opportunity. You mentioned F-Zero. How come we don't have a new F-Zero? Like, come on, Nintendo. A new Star Fox, nothing yet. Like, what are we doing, man? I don't know. But it's fine. Listen, it just is what it is. If you like Nintendo, if you're a Nintendo nerd like me, you there was something there for you to appreciate. There was quite a few things there that I enjoyed. Am I going to get that talking plant thing for me and Tyler? Is that the most stupid thing you've ever seen? Yeah, probably. But am I going to buy it? You bet your ass I am. So, ultimately, I'm at the core of the problem. I keep buying these things, but it's fine. At least I understand that I'm a part of the problem, and it's fine. But ladies and gentlemen, we have breaking freaking news thanks to Clobriel. And this is a really big deal. Like this came out like a wet fart. Like, how does this not be a big deal? Ladies and gentlemen, so at this Nintendo Direct, Final Fantasy Remake Intergrade was announced, and it's available for the Nintendo Switch 2 on January 22nd, 2026. And I knew in my heart of hearts, Crispy, that this was going to happen. Well, it was literally just shadow announced by Xbox that Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade is launching on the same day, January 26, 2026, on Xbox Series X and S, and it's a Play Anywhere title. And as great as that news is, can I just come out and say the disrespect that Xbox continues to get from Square? Now, again, you heard me say this, and I have this on confirmed authority, that Square Enix was so embarrassed on how Xbox was treated that they flew out from Japan to Seattle to personally apologize to Phil Spencer and Xbox on how things went down. That is a known fact, ladies and gentlemen. And here we are, the game that Xbox players have been waiting for 5 years, right? And again, I was all wrong about, the apology going into Xbox Game Pass. Against it ain't going anywhere. They're going to sell. So guess what? Boom is going to buy it. Boom doesn't talk the talk without walking the walk. I love Final Fantasy VII. I didn't finish it on the PS4 reasons. I should have finished it. I didn't. But am I going to finish it on Xbox? Yeah. It's from my preferred platform. I'd rather have achievements than trophies, and I like to control it better. So I am going to buy it. But I gotta be honest with you here, man. As great as we finally, Xbox players, oh my God, for the love of the gaming gods, we have a release date for Final Fantasy VII Intergrade or Remake Intergrade. It's just thrown out there like a wet sock. Am I crazy, chat, for thinking that is? I just feel that this whole Final Fantasy VII thing with Xbox has been a complete shit show from inception. It just really has been a lot of misdirection, a lot of misinformation, a lot of let's be coy, let's not talk about it, let's not point at the elephant in the room. This is crazy to me. Like, it gets announced for Switch 2 first before the Xbox version, and now today the Switch 2 front and center. Hey, Final Fantasy VII Intergrade dropping on Switch, and then they just kind of like out the announcement for Xbox. Crispy, am I crazy for thinking that this is kind of just another ball drop?
The 1 year that wasn't 1 year.
Oh my God, it's crazy.
You're not crazy, dude. Like, and I'm sure, like, I mean, would it be crazy to think that that Tokyo Game Show, it doesn't show up and they just leave it like that? That would be messed up, right?
See,
Like,
I thought the Tokyo Game Show was an almost guaranteed lock. Now that's happening on the 25th. Square is going to be there. So if you guys remember during this week, I was all in my feels, right? As the kids like to say, and I'm like, yeah, man, it's going to show up. It's supposed to be in the winter. I think they again, because of the whole apology thing, they're going to drop it into Game Pass, and it's going to be a shadow drop. And that's not what happened. So again, it's coming next year. The first month of the year is already a banger, and even though it's an older game, sure, it's still new on Xbox, so that is a banger release. It's not in Game Pass. That's fine. They're going to get my money, but I mean, shout out to hold on a second. Let me find them here. Thanaros in the chat. So Thanaros, appreciate you being here as always. He said, Double Barrel Gaming, Square has been showing up at every showcase with Xbox and shadow dropping games at each one. They're really trying. Yeah, I mean, look, you're not wrong, and I'm not, dumping or dunking on Square. I just think that this particular announcement, the Final Fantasy VII announcement, has been mishandled in just the worst way possible. And today's a perfect example of that. Like, this game was supposed to release a year after. I literally, and I say this in all of my videos and all of my live streams, folks, I have the collector's edition with the sticker that says it's a timed year exclusive. I literally have it in the case right here. And that was a thing. And then, of course, Sony did what Sony does. Square took the bag and cost their company millions upon millions of dollars. Right. So again, it's not Square as a whole. I know, Thanaros, that Square is trying. I mean, they have released a bunch of games, but listen, I don't think they're doing it to be friendly. I think they're doing it because their business is in big trouble, and they no longer can, make these very one-sided deals with Sony. But the smoke that I have for them, Thanaros, is really not so much everything they've done with Xbox, because you're right, you are onto something. They are trying, but this Final Fantasy VII, Crispy, this is man, it's been a stinker since inception.
Yeah, and I think you're right on. Like, this is the big one, really, and just and I understand, having Nintendo, you could have Nintendo, or whoever decided this could have just left Xbox off of there. You know what I mean? And that would have been, just have it at Tokyo Game Show, and that's the end of it. And, I mean, I guess, like, logically, you could still all of a sudden drop it in Game Pass, but I don't see that happening. So I don't know. Like, it's just it's one of those, like, I didn't even notice, and I think that's what a lot of people, and then you got to go to the internet for it, when some people may not want to. They just wanted to watch the direct. So, I don't know. It is definitely a little weird.
Yeah, I mean, listen, shout out to Curry Cosmos. Curry, thanks so much for being here, as you always are. Curry goes on to say, is it really such a big deal that Nintendo got the announcement date first? I don't want to say that it's a big deal. You know how much I love Nintendo. I make no apologies. I own everything Nintendo, and I buy everything Nintendo. But this particular announcement has been super weird. And yeah, it is kind of a bit of a letdown that the whole Xbox, Xbox, again, we're a gaming community. I think Xbox players matter. It kind of feels like the last lick's kind of a pick. Okay, you're picking your team, are you little Johnny. Damn. Put little Johnny. Yeah, I guess I'll take little Johnny. That's what this whole thing feels like. And I don't think I'm being overly emotional about it. I'm just saying, Fuzzy, that this has just been such a weird thing with Final Fantasy VII specifically. Not all of Square. Square made their deals. Their company is in a bit of a pickle financially. They've had loss year after loss year after loss year. That's on them. That's why the original people that were in charge making decisions are no longer employed by Square. They've been sent on their way. But Final Fantasy VII specifically, it just feels like the Xbox announcements have been, it's coming to Xbox. It's coming to. I don't know. I mean, again, I'm not dunking on Square. I just think that this whole Final Fantasy VII thing has been a shit show. Fuzzy, again, we have a more positive topic to get into on the back end of this, something that Crispy Bomb found. But I'm going to get your thoughts on this shadow drop. Oh, it's coming to Xbox too. Last licks kind of announcement.
I kind of look at it from a different standpoint. Like, the main thing for me is that since they didn't save this for Tokyo Game Show, maybe there's something bigger from Square at Tokyo Game Show.
Maybe.
And Kiri Cosmos made mention, like, it'd be nice if we get to see like a Kingdom Hearts 4 showing or something along those lines on their stage. So I think it is weird that it's been this like weird behind the scenes, pass a note kind of thing. But some of it might be due to contractual stuff because of PlayStation being who they were at the time, and they made the deals, and there might be so much legalese in those contracts that they kind of have to do this roundabout, like pass it down the line kind of deal, as opposed to making a big effort to market or advertise. Because knowing PlayStation, they're like, we don't ever want to see you make a post about this or advertise or something to that effect, where it would take away from potential sales on their platform. So I think that might be part of it, but I'm fingers crossed and hopeful that, because this was like one of those things that slid under the radar, that there's a bigger deal for Square's appearance at TGS, with Xbox being, right beside them, doing some sort of like new footage for Kingdom Hearts 4 or another game that they may have been secretly working on. Maybe their equivalent of a Forspoken or something that's like a timed exclusive on Xbox or something. But we'll see. But yeah, at least the game is coming. At least there is this announcement. It could have been a bigger fanfare, but letting it slide under the radar, I think, and saving that spotlight for something bigger at TGS might be worth it, because they kind of did the same thing with Final Fantasy 16, and Final Fantasy 16, I think, did well, at least in the initial weeks when it was released on Xbox. So maybe they're trying a similar, strategy where let's see how it climbs up the charts before we do a major push. Maybe if it doesn't reach within the top 20 within the first 2 weeks, maybe then that's when we consider, doing some sort of promoted thing where it's Game Pass, or maybe we do like a, this is for you type of sale, because Xbox loves doing that, especially if they've seen you've purchased from, let's say, that publisher, another game in that series, or a similar type of genre game. You'll get those, this is only for you type of deal, where it's like half off, or like, another 10 or 20 bucks or something compared to what, the normal price being 60 or 70 and stuff. So we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, listen, again, folks, shout out to Aris_EMS. I don't get mad at anything gaming. Do I get disappointed like you? Yes. This is a bit of a disappointment. I get mad at how crummy this world is, which we're not going to get into because we don't do politics or anything like that here. We're here to talk about video games, but yeah, that's what I get mad at. I don't get mad at video game announcements. I get disappointed, sure. And that's probably on me. Like, I have, look, I'll put it this way. I would rather overshoot for the moon than undershoot. Because I know some people are like, well, I really don't have any expectations when it comes to, X, Y, and Z. I have super high expectations. And that's probably because my glass is always half full rather than half empty, which is why you very rarely hear me complain about gaming at all. I mean, I know that today's show opened up with, ho-hum Nintendo Direct thing, and of course followed up by this like shadow drop news, like, Nintendo got it, PlayStation got, those Xbox guys, those bots, you're getting it also, again, this is just the way it doled out. I do have a more positive story, folks, on the back end of today's show. But again, shout out to Clobriel for once again always being on the pulse of gaming, because that post comes the way of him. And again, listen, folks, I'm buying the game. I'm a Final Fantasy fan. Final Fantasy VII is my absolute favorite in the entire series. I know some people will, fight that and be like, oh, well, I like 9 or 10 or 13. And I hear you. For me, it's 7. 7 is my absolute favorite. And I really enjoyed what I played on the PlayStation 4. I got about halfway through. And I just never finished it. And that's fine. Because I bought the collector's edition for the PS4 at the time. And I'll just buy the whatever edition that they have for the Xbox. Because again, I'm a fan of the series. I do like what they did. I know a lot of people had some smoke for them because they split it into a trilogy when the original game was what it was. I'm okay with that. The game is just massive and it's gorgeous. So Square is going to get my money. But yeah, I just think that the announcement is just from inception just been super weird. But, ladies and gentlemen, let me just make sure I'm caught up on Super Chats. We can get to this last story. And this one, yeah, we are. We absolutely are. Okay, so this next story is a interesting one. And it's one that that Crispy Bomb himself actually found. Now, so let me just pull up who. Okay, so there is a YouTuber. His name is the Canadian Guy. He is a Spyro and Crash type of content creator, and he has a pretty big, well-known YouTube. So I'm going to bring up his account right now and tell you exactly how many subs this guy has. I've seen several of his videos. He is sitting at, and this is no joke, 83.9 thousand subscribers. He does videos on Tuesdays, Thursdays. He streams Thursdays and Fridays, and he does daily shorts. He's a platformer guy, which is why I fell in love with his content, because he's funny and he's very candid about being a platform guy. And what's interesting is he has been recognized by Toys for Bob. He's actually sat down with them in person and in interviews, which is how I found out who this guy was. Well, he put out a post that Crispy sent me, and he sent a DM that I thought was very interesting. And Canadian Guy goes on to say this, ladies and gentlemen. According to a new headliner for the actual Crash Bandicoot account, it's been updated. It says, I don't chase trends, I crash them. So he asks, Crash updated their Twitter bio. Why? Now, look, Toys for Bob has been, they went and started doing their own thing. They took themselves away from being owned by Microsoft, and they're independent again. Good for that studio. Toys for Bob are amazing creators. And they've been teasing that they're not only working on something, they're also working on something with Xbox, right? So they have two projects they're doing. Now, for one reason or another, their first project that they're working on, they keep showing purple, which makes all of us, at least for me, as a platform freak, a new Spyro. Freaking yes, please. I will take a new Spyro, a new modern Spyro, because I don't know if anyone played it, or you should download it if you're a fan of platformers. The Spyro collection is freaking amazing. The game looks astoundingly good. Crash, I'm gonna be honest with you, folks, not the biggest Crash fan. I don't like the controls. I've never liked the controls. I've always hated having to run forward rather than a traditional open world platformer, or at least a side scroller. I know not all of his games are like that. I can take them or leave them. Usually I leave them. But Crash Team Racing, ladies and gentlemen, that's a horse of another color, because like Mario Kart, listen, folks, gonna be 55 at the end of the month. I'm a big old nerd. I love platformer characters. That's what I grew up on, right? So Crash Team Racing is an incredible series. And So if you've been following the channel for a long while, and Crispy and Fuzzy are knowing where I'm going for with it, where I'm going with. So again, this is one of those instances, folks. Walk with me on this, right? The thing that drives me crazy about being an Xbox fan is seeing games that exist like Mario Kart that celebrate all of their characters in the game, or games like Smash Brothers, for instance, right? Now, not all Smash Brother type games work, because obviously we saw that happen with, we know, with the WB game, and they had a bunch of really incredible characters in there. You know, Scooby Doo's fighting Batman, ridiculous, but somehow it worked, and that game doesn't exist anymore. So where I'm going with this, ladies and gentlemen, is, you know, when Crispy sent me this, and I saw Canadian Guy's post, in my mind, I immediately say, well, wait a second. We know, at least we think we know, that Toys for Bob is working on a Spyro game. Awesome, right? But they're also working exclusively with Xbox on what they called a dream project. Now that's coming directly from Toys for Bob, ladies and gentlemen. So when I saw that the Crash Team Racing thing was updated, I'm thinking to myself, wait a second. I personally have been asking for Playground Games, or at the time, Turn 10 Studios, and Fuzzy will appreciate this. We've talked about this, Fuzzy, to make a Mario Kart-esque type of racer with all of the incredible IP that Xbox has at their disposal. Right? You can have, and again, this is $1 million idea. How this doesn't exist to this day, folks, is bonkers to me, because I think it is, and I hate putting on the business hat. I don't throw the virtual tomatoes, folks, but again, walk with me on this. A game, a racer, a free-to-play Xbox racer that would be on every platform, Nintendo, PlayStation, Xbox, Steam, could be their next big gas game, right? You know, you get free updates, sure, of course. You know, free update with, you know, with levels, with, you know, tracks. You know, this month we're celebrating the anniversary of Fallout, so there's 3 new Fallout tracks. You know, one in the Fallout New Vegas, one in Fallout 4, one in the Fallout 76 Fallout. Oh my God, that's amazing. But, you know, there are skins for cars. And I know people are going to be like, oh my God, that's gross. Not really. It's the business, folks. So I'm trying to come at this from a nerd 101 and, you know, businessman 101. Put them together, perfect sandwich, right? So when Crispy sent me this, I said, you know, when Toys for Bob, Crispy, said Dream Project, and they updated the Crash Racing thing, could you imagine if the new Crash Racing is one that has all of the Xbox characters in this racer? Why not? And again, maybe this isn't the topic that's going to make you subscribe to the channel or not, but the news has been a little light this week. So, you know, this is, again, it's interesting to me. I'm hoping that it's interesting to some people in the chat. Crispy, let's talk about this, because, you know, again, this is a great find. And I don't see anyone talking about this. Now, granted, it is small breadcrumbs, but, you know, Canadian Guy, he has his pulse on this stuff, and I've been following him for a while, and his content is pretty good when it comes to talking about Crash, talking about Spyro. It's his thing, and he's closing in on 100. You know, on his Twitter page, it's the road to 100K. This guy's going to hit it. I think he's onto something. What are your thoughts, man?
Yeah, I just, you know, sometimes I'm just scrolling and I see something and I'm like, that's interesting. And it's, you know, they could release just another Crash, but I don't know. I don't feel like they ever like to do that either. You know, why change it? Those are the questions. Like, oh, they just felt like changing it. Generally, there's always something, you know, when there's smoke, there's fire. And it's like, well, why are they caring all of a sudden? You could also ask that question. So, I've seen Xbox like doing stuff like this once in a while. Necessarily who's running the social media page and whatnot, but the thing people will probably go and say, oh, why would they put all these characters on these other platforms? And I say, because they're already doing it. So let's not act like they couldn't say, okay, and then if PlayStation doesn't want to play ball and put Kratos or something like that on Xbox, it'd be like, okay, well, we'll just you get that, and then Nintendo can have this. But in realism, like, Microsoft really don't care. Xbox really doesn't care about that anymore. I mean, we've established that over and over again. So it's definitely, it would be logical, because then you're not talking about just, you're talking about millions and millions of people that would potentially purchase it. And, it would be logical to do it. Could it be a nothing burger? Sure. But in realism, that's the perfect platform to really say, okay, it's an established IP. And in realism, Crash was associated always with PlayStation. And, it's one of those, he's one of those agnostic characters that you could really play ball in any of the platforms and have characters. I mean, could they say, okay, and then we release a Nintendo version that has, these are sellable moments. Like, you putting on the business hat really is not illogical, because you could, say, okay, $10 DLC, and for people on Xbox, oh, I got it in Game Pass, so all right, why not? And it's just a MAU model that could work for a game that has been kind of mulled over for years. Give it some new life. And we were used to these moments where they would do games, like Nintendo had that model and people copied it, and like it would be like a Crash, and then a new Crash Team Racing, and then another Crash for a span of time, and then all of a sudden everything's like, okay, we're gonna dial it back. And maybe it'll bring some new audience to the IP that maybe haven't looked at it in a long time.
I mean, it's a great point. And again, folks, this is where the business side of gaming comes out. And a lot of us don't like, the free-to-play model. A lot of people don't like the fact that, gas games exist. That's the business, ladies and gentlemen. And look, I'm going to be honest. If a game needs to okay, hold on a sec. If a game's existence has to be, because it has to, its DNA has to change from being the traditional, there are only so many Mario Karts, right? Like Mario Kart, if you didn't know, Mario Kart World, is it worth $80? As much as I absolutely love it, the answer is it's not. But did that stop people from buying the game? It's, folks, the attach rate on the Nintendo Switch and the launch title of Mario Kart World is freaking nearly 1-to-1. It's astounding, right? How that works with Nintendo products. I don't have an answer for it. It's the Nintendo magic. Nerds like me exist. We continue to buy stuff. We know it's wrong, but we love it and we buy it and we have fun with it. I'm having a blast playing with Tyler. We're searching for all of the outfits right now. Of course, he found them all before me, because that's the kid he is. He's helping me get all the outfits. The old man, if you could imagine. But something like Crash Team Racing, would it sell? Is the question, Fuzzy. I think it would sell, because it's Crash. He's popular enough, and obviously, I mean, look, you have a Sonic Racer coming out, which, by the way, folks, please, for the love of Joe, go play that game. The demo's up right now. There's a new demo, I think, coming on the 17th. I don't know how different it's going to be, but I actually have footage of it, and it's freaking phenomenal. As a matter of fact, you know what? Now we're talking about it. I probably should have done this before, but let me just see if I could find it and just throw it in there for you folks, just in case you haven't seen it. Where is it here? Oh my god, I don't have it here. I'll find it in a second. But Fuzzy Belvedere, look, I don't know if there's anything to this. I don't know if there is a one-to-one. The reason why I wanted to bring it up in conversation simply is because the YouTuber known as the Canadian guy knows his stuff. He's a platformer guy. He doesn't make these posts for just simple engagement. He's asking a legitimate question. They did update it. Toys for Bob did say they're working with Xbox on what they called a dream project. Well, Xbox owns Crash Bandicoot, right? We know that because it was a part of the Activision deal. The one thing we can say with a stout point in mind is Xbox is always looking for the next big gas game, right? They want to make money on these things. We also know that their games are all going multiplat, and Crash Bandicoot going multiplat to Nintendo and to Steam and to PlayStation, no brainer there. But if you were going to reinvent the wheel, pun and totally intended, with bringing a new racer, a new Crash racer, which by the way was beloved by millions of people, it sold very well for them. Teaming up with Toys for Bob, who helped make that game, right? And then you bring that game forward, and it's more than just another clone or copy of Crash Team. It is a game that's going to potentially celebrate and have multiple boards and tracks in the worlds of Xbox owned IPs. Hell, I mean, they could be working closely with Sony for all we know. And like Crispy said, you could have a Kratos skin, a Nathan Drake skin. Hell, you could even have a Mario skin. That would be freaking amazing. Let's get your thoughts on this.
We've talked about this before, where Xbox should really consider doing some sort of kart racer for the most part. Like you said, it would make sense from a games as a service standpoint. I know we don't necessarily like to hear stuff like that because it's like, oh, a bunch of microtransactions, just what I need in a game that's like a time sink kind of thing. But I think just on the bio update, almost no video game developer or public, social media page or anything does any type of update unless there's a new title coming or there's an anniversary. And I don't know if there's an anniversary that near for them to do that type of update. But aside from like anniversary stuff, typically the updates for something like a catch line or whatever ties to an upcoming game. Now, it might be a little bit sooner than they probably should have. Maybe they should have waited until TGS or something, or maybe the Game Awards. We'll see. But I think something is in the works. And like you said, Toys for Bob, that partnership after they kind of broke off from Activision and Microsoft in general, we knew that they were working on an IP that Xbox owns. We kind of thought maybe it's a Spyro kind of thing, but it would make sense if it's a Crash thing as well. So I would say that's a likely type of thing. But if it is a kart racer, yes, there are a good bit of kart racers out there, but I think Microsoft kind of needs one in their wheelhouse with all the IP characters that they could kind of muster into that. And with, like you said, the multi-plat approach, it makes the most sense nowadays. Get different skins for different drivers, different skins for different vehicles. Imagine having the Warthog type of cart. Imagine having licensed cars, because they've had a good relationship with Porsche. They've had a good relationship with Ford. I can imagine them having some of their cars mixed in as like skins for carts and things like that as well. So I think it would work. But yeah, they, like I said, very rarely does a video game page, a social media page, do any type of update like that unless there's something in the works that is about to be announced, kind of thing. So we'll see how soon of an announcement they make.
I have some context, gentlemen.
Please, by all means.
Next year is the 30th anniversary of the original Crash.
Well, there you go, brother. That is, see, that this is what we love having you a part of the show, brother, because I didn't even know that.
Yep. So it was released on September 9th, 1996.
And there you go, folks. So, I mean,
yeah.
Look.
So maybe it's just another Crash.
Anniversaries next year.
Oh yeah, like a lot. Like that's insane. Like next year, well, it looks like they're warming up for the biggest year we've ever seen in gaming, to be honest with you. Yeah. And for one platform, and you know, there's going to be plenty of games that are coming to multiple platforms, but to have such a big year, I think it's going to be something special, and I hope it's really a celebration now that, you know, all these narratives have really broken the stands, as I like to call it, which I'd love to see, because, you know, at this point we need to stop arguing about stupid BS. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's definitely gonna be an interesting next year finding that out as well.
I mean, listen, it opens the door for another celebration, and that's, you know, that's wild if you think about it, because not only, and that's why I think next year for Xbox, and at some point on one of these shows before the end of the year, we're going to kind of talk about that. I'm going to probably do it on the Xbox Factor podcast and have some people come on, because when you consider how big next year is going to be for Xbox, I think it's worthy of not only a pretty lengthy conversation. I think it's worthy of its own show by itself, because if you just look, gentlemen in chat, at exactly what is lined up for next year for Xbox and just some of their IPs. Obviously, we've talked about it to death. Master Chief, Cortana, and of course the Halo Combat Evolved celebrating its 25th anniversary. Awesome. Gears of War, the 20th anniversary. Now we know, thanks to Crispy, the 30th anniversary of Crash Bandicoot, which by the way they own, right? So another massive anniversary, and on top of that, the 25th anniversary of the actual platform of Xbox. I think next year is going to be loaded with celebrations. And mind you, we haven't even gotten into the fact that you're getting the holy grail of trinities. Gears, Forza, and Halo are all getting new games. Like, holy freaking cow. Now, that's just those three. You might get Clockwork Revolution. You might get State of Decay 3, which we think is being pushed out a little further. You're going to get Fable. Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of games releasing next year. There's going to be the new Call of Duty. I mean, folks, the list is endless for 2026. You might get the first console-based OEM device from ASUS that goes underneath your TV. I mean, it's going to be wild next year. So Xbox fans, get ready. I think we are eating good this year. I think that Game Pass, and again, push back if you think I'm being a little hyperbolic, but of all the years of Xbox Game Pass that we've celebrated, I don't think there's been a better year than 2025. I really think that this year has been nonstop banger after banger, and they have quite a few games that dropped into the service, and I know three off the top of my head that are going to be Game of the Year contenders. Blueprints being one of them, Expedition 33, and Silksong. I mean, those are three banger titles in your service, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, listen, what else? What else can you say? But folks, look, again, we're closing in on the 90-minute mark. I hope you enjoyed the show. Apologies for being a little down or being a bit of a downer for the Nintendo and of course the Final Fantasy thing. Listen, folks, I don't go out of my way to be an a-hole or to be negative, but I gotta call it like I see it. And again, the Nintendo thing, I enjoyed it. I gave it a 7. I expected more. I think Nintendo should have done better for their fans when it comes to the 40th anniversary of Mario. I just think that they could have at least, done something better. That's my take on it. And the Final Fantasy thing, folks, look, I don't get angry at gaming because it's gaming, but I'm sorry. When I see smoke, when I feel someone deserves to smoke, I got to give it to them. And I don't think I go extra on, in on it, but Sorry, folks. I just think that the whole thing with Square and Final Fantasy VII has been just done. It's been handled horribly wrong. And again, this is this topic that Fuzzy was able to, that Crispy was able to find. I think it's worthy of a conversation, because I think that if you are going to make a new gas game, a Xbox designed racer that's with in conjunction with Toys for Bob, yeah, man, I think that would be brilliant. And of course, it'd be a multi-plat. But let's get everyone out of here. And a big thank you once again to all of the super chats, gifted subs, and the channel member subs that continue to power the channel behind the scenes, which of course give us the ability to do the big giveaways. And we do have one happening on September 26th. We are celebrating my birthday. It is the 7th annual Boom's Birthday Bash. And of course, we'll be giving away $300 worth of digital prizes on that Breakfast with Boom, which is the 26th of September. And all you got to do to enter, folks, even if you're not subscribed, is simply be in the chat and put in the hashtag, which we have under lock and key right now, and we'll put out there on the socials the day of. And if the picker picks you, you win. That's it. But Crispy Bomb, thanks so much for finding the story, brother. Great to see you here as always. Sell the brand. Where can people reach out to you on the socials to get that crispy truth with receipts?
Oh, too many. At Crispy Bomb on X, Crispy Bomb 28 Xbox Live, and you can find me, I don't know, probably Monday. I think I can make Monday, and any other time I show up on Boom's channel, we'll see you then.
Yeah, indeed, brother. Well, it's always great to have you here. Shout out to Curry Cosmos. His Toys for Bob isn't the only one that can do said racer. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Beanox is amazing, and Sumo Digital especially can. They did the Sonic Team Racing and such. Yes, Sumo Digital is incredible. And yeah, they absolutely could. And you know something? I mean, we don't know. This is just, this is kind of putting it out there. We don't know what Toys for Bob is working on. Again, if we're following some breadcrumbs, the update, to Crash Team Racing specifically suggests that they may be doing something new. Maybe a new Crash for the 30th anniversary. Maybe a dual release. But they could also be working with either Beanox or Sumo Digital for sure. But Fuzzy Belvedere, you guys have a horror podcast happening tonight. Fright Night with Ferocious Fee, as it does. Friday evening, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Tell people where they can subscribe to the channel, what you're working on, what's going to be the topic of discussion this evening, and more importantly, where people can subscribe and follow you guys on social media.
Well, always love doing this podcast with you and Crispy. Just love talking about the gaming industry and our excitement for what's coming up and all the stuff that we're going to be bombarded with this year and even into next year. So yeah, it's, as I always say, attack that backlog before it gets out of control if it isn't already. So yeah, definitely play some games, have some fun out there, be safe this weekend. But on the horror side of things, if you're a fan of horror movies, whether it's zombies, paranormal stuff, we got some stuff for you. Like later on tonight on Fright Night with Ferocious Fee, link is in the chat. We're going to be talking about Pitch Black. Vin Diesel movie. Some people I know aren't fans of him, but it's one of his better movies. I think he fits that character and the whole theme behind that, and the suspense and monster horror that's involved in that movie. Definitely come hang out with us at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time tonight as we go over this, as well as Riddick, Chronicles of Riddick, and even a little bit touch a little bit on the anime that they had as well. And we're also going to have a paranormal team interview coming up probably some point this weekend or early next week. They're going to be doing an event at the Everett Theater in Middletown, Delaware. So definitely keep an eye out for that. If you're into paranormal activity or some of the investigation teams and things like that, you'll definitely want to check that episode coming out here soon. But as I always say, play your video games, have fun, be safe, and look forward to seeing you guys here right back on this channel at 12 noon for Xbox Lunch Break Special on Monday. See you then.
Appreciate you gentlemen being here. Appreciate the chat being here. Of course, I love going back and forth with you guys and gals. Thank you again for all the super chats, channel member chat, shares, subs, and likes. And of course, if you did like the commentary, consider subscribing if you're not already subscribed. And of course, before you way out the door, ladies and gentlemen, hit that like button. We would definitely appreciate that. But ladies and gentlemen, enjoy your weekend. I know a lot of people are going to be playing Borderlands 4. I know some people said FOMO. I'm kind of feeling it, but I hated, and I don't really hate a lot of games. I did not like Borderlands 3 at all. I tried it. I bought it. I played it. I don't know what it was about that game. I loved 1 and 2. Did not like 3. So I don't know if I want to spend full boat. I may wait for a sale. I'm going to be honest with you. So, folks, if you're enjoying it, let me know via DM. Next time we're in the chat on Monday, let me know if you played Borderlands 4. I know it's gotten pretty good reviews. A lot of people are enjoying it. I don't know if I want to spend my money right now. I'm playing so many games that it would just probably sit there. I'm playing through Chronos. And the more I play it, the more I dislike it. It is the difficulty is just outrageous, and it's frustrating because I want to love the game and I gladly bought it, but there is something to be said about it's worse than even the original Resident Evil in regards to its ammo. It is. I find it so ridiculously difficult, but it's fine. I'm playing it. I'm gonna keep playing it. But thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for being here once again. A big thank you to all the super chats, channel member chats, and gifted subs. And of course, we're gonna close out the show with something that's incredibly important to me. Hopefully, one day, ladies and gentlemen, it'll be important to you. And that's something that my dad taught us when we were kids. And he would say, "Craig, treat others how you want to be treated." And also, it doesn't cost anything to be nice. You live by those rules, son. I can guarantee you're going to have an awesome day. So take care, everyone. Have a great weekend. Play games on whatever console you enjoy. And we'll see you on the next episode of Breakfast at Boom.